Yeah, I guess so. Let's do like a round of introductions. First of all, I'm Nathan. I do business development. I'm like, mainly doing outreach here, talking to layer one blockchains like Zksync. And today, I wanted to really tap into this hackathon that we're doing with Homless Ventures and Zksync, and tell you guys a little bit about it. As far as with the vision from Ankr, basically we're looking to really empower developers to use our infrastructure to go and build on new aspiring blockchains like Zksync, and share those value propositions over other blockchains, and also sponsors developers with the infrastructure, and also loop them in with Homeless Ventures. So they could if you're hungry to build and you got a good project, you'll have a future here with us. So yeah, we're really just hungry to help these developers build and ship dApps, and make sure they have the right tooling and infrastructure to succeed. Yeah, I'll hand over to Omar if you want to introduce yourself and kind of like what you see in this hackathon.
Awesome. Thanks, hey Doug. Hey guys, it's Omar, head of BD for Zksync. Yeah, super excited to see what people build. Really thankful for Ankr having me here. You guys have been fantastic partners for Zksync the ecosystem since day one, pretty much. But yeah, really excited to see what people do and try and build with either things like account abstraction, make use of fast, state oracles, and all that.
Awesome. Well, a little bit on myself. I'm Mai or Chris, whichever you prefer. And I come from a traditional finance background. I'm also a protocol founder. And I do a lot of work with Homless Ventures. We're an early stage decentralized investment group that focuses on the latest and greatest, the bleeding edge DeFi innovations in the space. So we're looking for, hungry teams that are looking to build the future here.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that stuff, guys. I guess hopping into the next question. I wanted to say, like, what was the whole inspiration behind this? Arsalan, our head of business development and partnerships at Ankr, and I were talking one day, and a couple other folks like Anna, and we realized that like we have all these developers every single month, coming into blockchain, getting RPCs for like Ethereum, new blockchains coming out, and we really want to leverage our developer community and narrow that focus into some of our partners. So I thought it'd be really dynamic to go with some new ZK technology with Zksync and share that. Yeah, Maya, if you wanted to elaborate on some of your reasons on why we came together in the first place, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love a lot of the work that Zksync is doing, with a lot of the kind of like broad chain development, in terms of like making it really easy to deploy like new L2s, L3s, and such, as well as like a lot of the work Ankr does on RPC management. Where I mean, right now, even for my own services, I'm having our GitHub tech. Self-destruct every so often on running our hundreds of tests. So having like really good tech, RPC calls and such is super helpful for everything the broad DeFi landscape needs. So on one hand you have a group that's really putting a lot of powerful tools in the kits of like various developers for new chains and such, and then on the other, the backbone really of like the new internet here, right, with the RPC calls for every blockchain under the sun.
Yeah, and then thank you for that. And then yeah, Omar, I was wondering if you wanted to cover kind of like your thesis or what you think about like layer threes, or launching like app chains with ZK Sync. Has that been like a focus for you guys recently, like given Celestia data availability, like scale, all the scaling going on for rollups, in app chains? Like I want to see just what your thoughts are on that. Because I think potentially, we could get some, app chains built out of this hackathon. Like if a developer wants to go and, throw like a AMM on a on a blockchain itself. I'm sure Zksync is scalable enough for, several perps, but I think having these specific app chains is, not a bad bet if you want to have like a long lasting dApp.
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot there right now, right? So we obviously have Zksync Era, which is our main net, and that is essentially what we call the first hyperchain. So it's a ZK rollup, layer two on Ethereum. It's been live for now, I guess, like 9 months essentially. And the numbers speak for themselves, right? It's right now based on our latest prover upgrade called Boojum. It's now essentially the cheapest rollup. So you can check on chain at Grow the Pie or L2Fees.com, and you'll see that ZK Sync right now is the cheapest layer two out there. At the same time, it's also doing the most transactional volume, right? And so obviously that implies, two things. The tech is good, it scales, and you're not seeing these price fluctuations anymore. So using that same technology, we are essentially allowing anyone to go ahead and build their own layer two, or essentially we call these hyperchains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to zkstack.io and you can just go ahead and deploy your own ZK rollup right now as we speak, right? You can deploy it to testnet, and very soon you'll be able to deploy it to mainnet. So the main idea is that you can have our technology, but you can make it pretty modular. So if you wanted to, let's say, have a different DA layer, like if you wanted to use Celestia, you'll be able to do that. If you wanted to use EigenDA, you could do that, right? So you'll be able to take advantage of what a lot of these modular ecosystems are bringing to the table, such as EigenDA, Celestia, etc. But on top of that, we also have rollup as a service providers that also provide this infrastructure as a service. So Ankr is one of them, right? So if you also want, you can either boot your own, right, and manage your own servers and run on your own layer two, or you can go directly to Ankr and then, hey, I would like to boot up my own layer two ZK rollup using Zksync's technology. And Ankr will be a rollup as a service provider for that. So I think that's very interesting for a lot of developers because now they've got this optionality. You can either build directly on our main net, right? This essentially like mothership, or you can build your own layer two. And the key piece of that, there's two pieces here, right? So you can go ahead and build a very small scale one, very app specific one. You can have it, I mean, you could even run this thing on your desktop because the actual underlying tech, the prover, only requires 16 gig GPU, right? And that's very unique to ZK Stack. What that means is you can essentially run on your own layer two with working proofs on essentially your MacBook or your desktop if you really want to run a very small personal application. If you want to run a very large web scale application, you can also do that as well, right? This thing scales to as much as what our mainnet scales to. There's really no limit there. Then the other thing that's coming down the pipe is interoperability. The other benefit of actually joining ZK Stack and building your own either app chain like layer two or hyperchain is that it comes with a native messaging protocol. And so every single hyperchain will be able to connect directly with any other hyperchain. And you'll essentially have a trustless ZK bridge from one L2 to another L2. That'll be fast and extremely cheap, right? So obviously you've got all the different stacks. You've got OP stack, you've got Arbitrum, you've got Polygon CDK. What's really setting ZK Stack apart is that we've got the proven tech that can scale. You can just check our Zksync Era stats right now. It's going to be incredibly cheap. You can make it modular. So if you want Celestia, you can add that in. And then if you want someone to actually manage the whole infrastructure for you, well, you've got Ankr to do that for you as well. And then on top of that, you don't have to worry about fragmentation. Like you roll this thing up, you will have a native bridging to Zksync Era or to any other layer two that uses ZK Stack.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that got my brain warming up pretty well. Yeah, I mean, really quick, want to cover this. So if you're like a developer and you want to go and focus on building like, the next DYDX or, I should say like Jupiter or Uniswap, you could go and, effectively, go and use the ZK stack. Also want to cover account abstraction and how you guys differentiate between EIP 4337, but you can go and work on that and not have to worry about your infrastructure. If you come over to Ankr, we could help set you up like load balancer. You'll have nodes all around the world, so you have low latency, and you could scale very quickly, essentially. So that's what's cool. So if you have like a crazy brilliant idea that needs scale, I think definitely going ZK Stack and working with us here on this hackathon is the right place to be. So I think a question, Maya, I'll let you take this one first. I'm just wondering what kind of dApps do you guys really want to see here? Being built on Zksync.
Yeah, so I think the main value proposition of a lot of like the hyperchain tech and easy deployment of a lot of these different things is like high throughput. So obviously you can have like the AMMs and the lending markets and the more conventional technical solutions, but I feel like there's a lot of things that people really like conceptually that are a bit more difficult to do something. Like doing an implementation on something like Ethereum mainnet or something where a single action might, cost $10, $15, $20. So that's things like, GameFi, like on-chain games, or rendering stuff on-chain, or order book stuff. Like, a lot of those kind of more high throughput, just generally churning the blocks, if you will. That's really what gets unlocked by a lot of that. A lot of this new technology. So I think if we could see some stuff like that, that'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah, thanks.
One thing
Yeah, go ahead, Omar. I wanted
just
to
one more thing to yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Elaborate on like the potential gaps, that Zksync has in its eco, or like what you'd like to see developers build. I think, that'd be great to just let them know opportunities.
I think, yeah, I mean, so one thing that just comes to mind. So the other thing to think through this is these are just servers are booting up and down, right? Like this is now we're finally enabling Web 2 like scaling. You need more resources. All right, boot up some more hyperchains. There you go. You got more capacity now. Like that's I think is a very different shift of mind that I'd like to see people start thinking through. Like for example, what if you wanted to do a 10 million mint, right? Would you do that on mainnet and risk having it potentially get clogged by, someone else doing a big event? Well, what if you just booted up a layer 2 real quick, did your 10 million mint there, so you're not having to be congested or face any issues that way, and then just bridge them over to mainnet, and then just shut it down, right? So, like you can start thinking of these like as ephemeral servers that just go on and off as you need capacity. So you could like let's say you build a large layer 2 for, you're building a metaverse or you're building a game. So you build a layer 2 base chain that is your game. But then let's say you have a big event and you need to, mint a lot and it's going to be a significant amount of capacity. Well, all right, just boot up another layer 2 or boot up another layer 3, have your mint there, bridge it all over and shut it down very quickly. Like that is a very interesting design space that I would really like to see people experiment with. And I mean, just the same way we use Docker and containers, right? In just development.
Yeah, 100%. As far as with like the bridging for like ERC20s and ERC721, so I could basically go and launch like a layer 3, and like within a couple days, say talk to Ankr, get some infrastructure and do a huge mint. So we're talking like you could set this up for some really big brands that potentially go and launch these giant distributions of NFT tokens, and then you could do that for the scalability aspect, and then or the low the high throughput, and then effectively bridge that over to back to the main L2 of Zksync. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, that or your own L2,
yeah, there's so much to do here. It's amazing. Yeah, another question I want to dive into. This will be an important one. Yeah, so for developer support on the hackathon, yeah, so I'm stoked to announce that Ankr is going to be sponsoring infrastructure for developers. So we will basically be giving out like API keys, or when you sign up, we'll get your email in our database and give you like basically like unlimited credits to build like central limit order books or really high throughput apps. So anyone building on Zksync should definitely be participating in this. And then I think my and Omar, I think you guys will be supporting developers a little bit. Whether it's DevRel or just giving advice out. We'll it's going to be I think it's 12 weeks, I believe, or 10, and we're going to be staying in a close contact with all the developers and further building relationships. So yeah, you guys can chime in on that if you want.
Yeah, we'll definitely be involved. We'll be there every step of the way. I'll be very interested to see what people think of, what types of ideas people have.
Yeah, same. I mean, love looking at new technology, new solutions. Obviously, we're not so much on the infrastructure side, but definitely, we're a community of builders ourselves. So always happy to look at like new solutions, provide advice, review, and kind of help brainstorm, novel technology.
Yeah, sounds awesome. I guess for like the incentives, I guess like are you guys going to be providing some runway potentially if we get some really good dApps coming out of this?
Yeah, I believe that the largest or the winning project, Homless Ventures, is committed to potentially investing in their any like form of capital raise, right? Whether that be a seed round or pre-seed or other capital raise.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, Ankr also would be giving out some prizes to the winners, so to be a competitive one. Another thing is, we're gonna have an FAQ page. It's gonna be on our website. I think I don't know, Sergio, you can maybe share the website link in here. That'll be able to cover like all of your high level questions and stuff. Go ahead and go on a website, sign up there if you haven't yet, and we'll be sending out some information frequently to you guys. And the start date is going to be January 22nd, so a little after the new year. We're going to kick this scene off. So want to dive another question here. So are there any particular industries or use cases that you hope to see addressed by the dApps developed in this hackathon? I remember making this question. I think I really like to see. There's a lot. I'd like to see AI being leveraged a little bit more by blockchain. I feel like there's that security aspect. Of course, like we're ChatGPT. Who knows where my data is when I put in all these crazy questions? It's kind of concerning to see. That's one side, the infrastructure. So moving the back end of data from Web 2 infrastructure to Web 3 in a more distributed, open network, I think would be cool. And having, DAOs really be able to decide for what these algorithms do. Say if like we're using decentralized Twitter, I could pick an algorithm that suits, what I want to see, not what, some large stakeholders might be making us see. So definitely the social media side of things is particularly like where I'm pretty interested. Is such a powerful tool, and I think AI also can come in on the front end. Not necessarily have to tweak out the back end a ton with smart contracts, but the way it's like reading and listening and helping, maybe helping people like snipe some new meme coins or cool stuff like that. So really like to see like analytics also being built here on Zksync. Maybe that's something that helps people scale, going from a layer 3 to a layer 2 and bridging tokens, that kind of stuff. That's particularly what I'm like the industry I'm interested in is mostly social media.
Yeah, social will be very interesting. I think the counter to the AI stuff is identity, right? So I'd like to see what people maybe test out with identity, as well as just gaming in general. I think if you have your own block space, right, and you could do maybe like a Validium and maybe have like Celestia down as a DA layer. I mean, it might not be available just yet, but it's on the route. But that'd be pretty interesting too, to see like, okay, what if you really tried to push this, how far would you get?
Yeah, I already talked a bit on the topics here for apps that I think would be interesting. I think when you're working with really powerful infrastructure, a lot of people tend to spend more time building additional infrastructure. But I think it would be interesting to see some of these like apps get built out on top of these high throughput systems, right? So as Omar said, GameFi I think would be really good. Having like order book systems, having just like even intent based stuff, right? Where now you can work through very complex solutions with very small overhead, with like an off-chain solver or something like that, and then you're in a position where it's much more competitive than kind of like the counter on-chain counterparty, I guess, like an AMM or something like that. So there's a lot of potential with these high throughput systems, and hopefully we see some of those come to fruition.
Yeah, 100%. I second that. I think, if you adopt this kind of technology, like these hyper chains and build app chains, there's a trend right now. And, you could build much more advanced, high performant apps, like taking like a Clob, I think, and throwing on one of these and bringing like the best user experience with like an account abstraction wallet, or just like a smart contract as a wallet, and paying for like gas in like USDC or something, or there's so much to do. And like, even if you really want to, you can go out there and start, you can start like I don't care, you can start a meme coin and build a bunch of cool stuff around that. We just want to see creativity here. And yeah, that really leads me to the next question. So yeah, what kind of companies are the most exciting in Web3? What are the attributes that make a successful startup in Web3? I'd say the most exciting companies to me in Web3, it's actually companies that are kind of taking more of a risky approach to just building something completely new, with like, I'd say like, for me, the DeFi, like Jupiter, that user experience on Solana has been great for trading. It's got the high throughput, low fees. Anything that's trying to like improve user experience right now across the board, I support it. And of course, all this infrastructure that all these infra providers are doing, it's like so essential to keep the the low latency and the performance. And favorite companies in Web3, it's got to be layer 1, layer 2 blockchain companies, like just really trying to push for people to use their block space and be creative by solving the UX in crypto. I think it's safe to say that, like, when the EVM came out, and it was a Turing complete blockchain to transfer value across and build these insane applications like AMMs. Those led to some breakthroughs, but now the companies that are focusing on, like Zksync, focusing on more scalable solutions and better user experience. I think I think we're still so early in the infrastructure phase, and that's mainly where my interest is. As like a DeFi end user, I want to see more EVM, central limit order books. That'd be really cool. And I think the attributes that make a successful startup in Web3 are, people that are looking to solve like, a root problem that hasn't been solved yet. It seems like a lot of people in this industry are working on the same thing simultaneously. It's hard to go and break free from the bubble and build something new, but I want to see more of that. Like, take a swing at a crazy problem. That could even be building just like a DAO, that connects a lot of things in the real world. Like I'd like to see like a Airbnb type of DAO would be cool. But yeah, you guys want to cover what your favorite companies are in Web3? The attributes makes a successful startup. It could be your own company too. Like,
yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm an app founder myself, so I've focused very much on trying to design a product that I would want to use, which I feel like is unfortunately an area that hasn't been explored too much. There's a lot of startups that are trying to capture the base layer, the base value accrual through like whatever infrastructure solution, but I think there's almost like too much of a blend of infrastructure at this point where, there needs to be the apps that kind of do the hard, heavy lifting of using the infrastructure and building a compelling app on top, right? And that's not to say infrastructure is not important. Obviously, it very much is, but there's got to be this, series of applications that leverage all the infrastructure that people are building and create value out of it. Like that kind of, I often say like a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario where they're able to leverage the scaling, the, general feature set that all the infrastructure being built provides, and then creating more out of it, creating more compelling, interesting solutions. So that can be, things that you would see in, traditional finance or even new paradigms, right? So for us, that was like tapping into a lot of DeFi primitives and wrapping that in capital efficiency. But more broadly, I think there's a ton of opportunity to build, as you said, like real world asset stuff on chain, building novel like game solutions that are validated on chain. Like I think the ability to reduce the necessity of individuals like underwriting things or managing things themselves and having the code do that is really powerful. So we should be moving more stuff on chain, not less. And I think a lot of that needs to be championed by applications themselves. And, whatever those applications are, there needs to be a wide breadth of them. And that can be everything from, these DeFi solutions to GameFi solutions to, everything in between.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I just think like at the end of the day, it's like, we need to have more choices. Like just, given in like Web 2, there's so many, there's a few giant conglomerates that are just taking over, all the mind share they got, or, market share. They got these big takeaway rates. I think in Web 3, those takeaway rates can be, much smaller. Users own their data. We get to, actually have ownership and vote on where protocols go and stuff. And, I'd like to see like some sort of privacy solution on Zksync. That would be pretty cool, and be able to provide like LP, for example, just like in a private manner. At the end of the day, I think like a lot of these big hedge funds, large funds, like I don't know if they want to see or have people see, their account on a block explorer, throwing LP somewhere or all this. Like I saw Ledger had a hack this morning, and it's I think that we could do better with security through privacy, and I think Zksync. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked super deep in the docs yet, but I think there's some privacy solutions you guys are offering. Like you could leverage maybe some different functions in that offer privacy, like or encryption. You could obviously do this in a smart contract because it's so efficient. But do you guys have anything like out of the box, kind of in that area?
Not yet, not yet, unfortunately. But what we are doing is that very soon, for I guess if you're using ZK Stack, you could boot up your own layer 2 or layer 3 as a Validium, and then store it in a private server. So it's kind of just like an off-chain solution for privacy. Mm-hmm. We are working on potentially trying to figure out like how would you bring actual on-chain privacy, right, with actual ZK proofs, etc. But that's further down the roadmap. But that brings up a good point. Like there's a lot of interesting privacy aspects that I'm pretty excited to see in 2024. I don't think it's there just yet. When it comes to the favorite company, though, I don't think. That's obviously aside from Zksync. I don't think I necessarily have. There's a lot of companies that I really admire and I think are doing great things. For me, like I'm also interested in seeing like someone come up with some new idea for tackling a problem that is very persistent in this industry. And one problem that is a huge issue is the on and off ramping, right? Like you either need to go through a centralized exchange and use them as like a pass-through to on-ramp, which has significant fees, or you have a direct on-ramp, which also then has 8-9% like cut rate. A company that just I mean they just started. It's like a startup, like ZK P2P.
Mhm.
What they've done is very novel, right? Like they've essentially said, okay, what if you use your Venmo account to just directly on ramp into USDC? And with that, the rates are just so much lower, and it also just goes through KYC, and and that sparks a whole new avenue of, hey, what if you just use an existing KYC like app, like a Cash App or maybe like Alipay, etc., and use that to directly on ramp onto crypto. Because I think one of the biggest issues we have in this industry is how do you actually get people on board? How do you actually get people into Web3? That's like doesn't require 10, 20 different steps. And I think this is a very interesting new design space that they just opened up, and I'm pretty excited to see where this goes.
Wow, that's really. I'm gonna definitely check that out. It's ZK
Yeah,
P2P.
yeah. The letter ZK, P, the letter P, two, the number two, the letter P, P2P.
Yeah. Wow. No, I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, I've actually I recently just been like an overall crypto advocate, just all around. Been helping people like try to on ramp, whatever texting them or in real life. And like yeah, no, I think there's still so much friction to just get your fiat into crypto, and like if you could just go and work even on those problems and come up with something like we're using Venmo, like I think there's a lot of room there definitely. Or maybe how do you get somebody to a smart contract wallet as easy as possible from fiat, and maybe have them have like a guy. I think there could also be a lot of educational material coming out of this hackathon. You don't have to necessarily build like even like the craziest app. You could maybe have like a learn to earn type of app. I think that would be pretty cool. Teaching people about this these L3 or the ZKA hyperchains and a bunch of more stuff. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. Yeah, Mai, I don't know if you want to share any recent like examples of
Nate, do you mind if I so before we move on to the next question, do you mind if I take a quick moment to share that well, I have shared some links to this
yeah.
session where everyone can check, well, if in case they haven't already, um, there's like the prizes and rewards of the of the hackathon linked in this session, and also, well, the form where you can register for the hackathon, and as well the blog entry where we share more details about the hackathon. Well, just additional resources.
Of course, man. Yeah, let's get that out to the community here.
And yeah, it's all pinned there, so um, if anybody has well, questions or whatever, they're always also welcome to join our channels, and yeah, that's it. That was it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then also I want to give some time for anyone that has questions or just wants to speak in general in a few minutes here. Yeah, before that though, I want to see if you have any recent examples, or if you could kind of explain how Homless Ventures is structured and what any exciting investments you guys have made recently. Or you don't have to dive like super deep into it, as far as you want to go.
Sure. Yeah. So it's very much like a syndication style. It's a decentralized entity that essentially through the voting of the participants can choose to opt into funding a project or projects that we think is positive sum with the broad DeFi landscape. The three most recent big ones are probably Winner, AltLayer, and then selfishly Curvance, which I am the founder of. So going through the list, Winner is focused on GambleFi and taps into like a lot of provably, verifiably random technical solution. So that's like being able to write gamble results on chain and prove that it was a fair, basically, action, if you will. Alt layer is very much in the rollups as a service space, and have numerous partners across the broad landscape. I think even some of those on the stage here they've talked with and worked with, which is obviously a quickly maturing space. And then Curvance, which is what I'm the founder of, taps into basically capital efficiency, basically allowing people to tap into broad DeFi yield opportunities or yield-bearing assets in general, and benefit from capital efficiency akin to like an Aave or a Compound, where you're able to leverage up or buy a car or whatever with some portion of your collateralized assets.
Yeah, Curvins. You want to kind of you want to dive into that a little bit? How does it differentiate between other borrowing and lending protocols? I'm actually curious.
Sure, yeah. So it has a lot of new technology across a few different avenues. That's like liquidations, interest rate models, Oracle solutions, cross-chain equivalents, a lot of different areas that DeFi protocols have struggled with in the past. So what that looks like is being able to use any Oracle provider, prices from any Oracle provider, or being able to have value on one chain, whether that be to direct incentives or other value from one chain to another. So if someone had something on Arbitrum, they could then potentially incentivize Zksync with it or something like that, where it kind of removes that fragmentation of multiple chains. And it has a lot of additional security layers in place for things like flash loans and such. And basically this blend of various things results in us being able to support any asset, any ERC20 asset, which makes it just broadly like a unified solution to, again, like DeFi yield or money markets, because we could just support anything. So that means LP tokens for AMMs, perpetual exchanges, real world assets like interest bearing stable coins backed with treasuries, liquid staking derivatives, liquid restake tokens, and really everything in between.
Wow. I got to check that out a little more. Really cool stuff, man. Yeah, it seems like, I think, there's so many chains out there now, and any application out there that's trying to make them all feel like one using account abstraction is something I heavily support. Yeah, really quick, just to kind of capitalize here a little bit. So the infrastructure that Ankr is providing, if you guys haven't known already, what makes us different is that we actually have a bunch of small data partnerships, which enables us to own the actual bare metal. So we're not outsourcing to the cloud. So we have we're across 7 continents. I thought that'd be cool to mention. And then also we have a great team of networking gurus. Like these guys have been building load balancers for quite some time. So essentially, if you want to get a layer 3 going, I can help you just even get a load balancer, and you could connect a few of your nodes. We could do that pretty easily. And so one thing I just wanted to say is, on this one pager that we have, or our website, we're going to have some tools and resources. We'll have indexers on Zksync, any other tools you might need, like docs, of course, for provers and whatnot. We're going to have a starter repository for developers, a scaffold. So maybe, get some, a bunch of apps you could just go and fork and just get hacking right away. As far as with criteria, that's something, it's still pretty open. I'd say what do you guys think we should, discuss on criteria for the hackathon? I'd say focusing on user experience, solving problems around that is something, really want to see. So that making sure you've tested out your app like quite a bit, like rigorous testing. The whole UX kind of. We're gonna have like a sheet of this criteria, obviously, but just around an open discussion right now. Is there anything you guys think that are some big areas we need to score for the criteria on all these all these projects being submitted at like towards the end?
Yeah, I think what I've heard a lot of from both of you guys is a focus on kind of breaking down barriers or like the just complexity of like interacting with DeFi or even the solutions themselves. So I think that you touched on it briefly there, but like the UI UX aspect, making it more Web 2, making it that much easier to engage with, I think that's a pretty important thing to hit on, because there hasn't really been that much focus placed on that for current DeFi solutions. So it's like, let's, as much as people are like, oh, let's make Web 3, it's better than Web 2. I think there's still some lessons there in Web 2 with like, let's make the user experience really clean and, available for like a broad audience, because that's how you're going to onboard the next, billion users.
Right. Yeah, let's just let's get some speakers up here. Anyone that has any questions is welcome to jump up. And Sergio, if you want to let them go ahead and ask any questions.
Yeah, for sure. So let me check. Yeah, you can find all the links on our link tree, which you can find under our profile, or you can just check Ankr.com. We have everything over there. May and Omar, would you like to introduce your the project's links or any, I don't know, like compilation platform that you have for these, like Linktree, Quest?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch that. What type of links?
Just in general, for them to like follow
Oh,
Zksync, where they
okay.
can find, your Twitter, website, etc., Telegram, Discord if you have.
Yeah. Sorry, I mistook. I thought you were talking about something else. Okay, yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So you can check us out on our main website, zksync.io. But if you're really interested in ZK Stack and seeing how you can start tinkering around with it and what it is, you can go to zkstack.io, and then also follow us on Twitter. We're generally posting quite a bit of interesting things. I think like now the latest stuff you'll see is essentially our transaction fee improvements, thanks to the new proof system Boojum. But yeah, you can see the Zksync, the Twitter account's listening right now. So if you want, you can follow them.
Yeah, likewise on our end, we have I see someone's on the Curvance account there and under listening there. So feel free to follow them there. Our website's curvance.com. We are going to be releasing our testnet for the broad technology stack here probably in a few weeks. We'll beta after that, and then that's go time. So we do have a Galaxy campaign. It's under Curvance. On there, if you're interested, that can get people early access to the testnet if they do a few basic tasks. We are going to be sourcing a ton of UI UX feedback. As I mentioned on the call, UI UX is very important. We got to get really high quality user experience across DeFi, because that's how we're going to onboard the next wave of users. So that's important to us at Curvance. That's important to us at Homless Ventures. And, look forward to chatting with you all.
Yeah, just wanted to say, thank you everyone for joining today. Really looking forward to getting this hackathon kicked off. We're still in the early stage. It's gonna start on the 22nd. Signups are on right now, so go ahead and click on the link, check out the website, repost it. do as much as you will. And yeah, once again, thanks everyone, and let's keep this going. That was really fun.